In a world where every scroll, swipe, and skip matters, the media game is no longer just about reach and impressions. It's about attention. As platforms explode and audiences fragment, attention is emerging as the new currency in marketing. But can it truly drive business outcomes? In the special episode of Media Dialogues with Storyboard18, we unpack the metrics that matter, from attention per mile to creative formats that hold the gaze. How ready are Indian marketers to shift focus? Can fleeting seconds of attention translate to long-term brand impact? Joining us to decode the attention economy are some of the industry's sharpest minds. Amin, Lakhani, President Client Solutions, WPP Media South Asia; Pulkit, Trivedi, MD of Snap India; Mike Follett, CEO of attention measurement firm Lumen; and Partho Banerjee, Head of Marketing and Sales at one of the leading auto majors, Maruti Suzuki. So let's dive into the attention economy and how attention is reshaping media, creativity, and the future of brand building. I mean, let me come to you first. We're talking about this major shift to attention and the focus on the attention economy and the metrics that drive that. Tell me a little bit about what you as a leading media planner, media agency, what are you all hearing from clients today, and what does it mean? What does attention mean today for them?
So to your starting commentary, Delshad, and what we spoke about this earlier as well, that there is huge amount of migration of consumers onto the digital platforms. We are seeing multiple platforms coming into play. The time spent, whether it's entertainment, whether it's utilities, whether it is commerce, I think we are seeing huge number of people coming over onto the digital bandwagon and spending that kind of time. The question is that how do we really, in the advent of technology and emerging technology, how do we measure them right? How do we measure them right such that we can plan and drive effective campaigns? So I think that's the challenge that was thrown at us, and clients continue to keep asking that questions time and again. And this initiative itself that we've taken and that we will talk to you about is a step forward in that direction, to bring in technology, to bring in consumer insights, to see how they are spending time and how is their focus and distraction playing up in helping us really planning for our clients well.
It's always this tussle between focus and distraction, right? The story of our lives. But Partho, I began with asking Amin about clients, and let me come to you because you are the client here. Maruti, a major advertiser, legacy brand, one of the sort of leaders when it comes to marketing in the country as well. Give me a little bit of an insight into what Maruti and you have been thinking about, how attention is shaping strategies, your media strategies, your longer term brand strategies, because like I said, we are all struggling with this dance between focus and distraction right now. So what are you thinking when it comes to attention?
Good morning, Delshad. First of all, thanks to CNBC team for inviting me for this discussion. With regard to, I think, a brand like us, Maruti Suzuki, we need to reach to a wide audience while also connecting with specific groups like Gen Z and the millennials. So what we do is this in Maruti, we used a layered marketing approach to achieve this balance. We use mass media like television and sports sponsorships to build broad awareness and the trust. At the same time, we are using the digital channels, data and analytics to create highly personalized content for different customer segments. Also, now we feel that the influencer marketing and the localized content to connect with various audiences are also having a huge relevance at the personal level, which is going to make a difference in times to come, so that we are able to grab the attention of the target customers.
Absolutely, and we'll talk about personalization at scale as well. But Mike, let me come to you. And given that this is your, the core of what you do as well, how do you see attention metrics reshaping media and buying frameworks, planning frameworks?
The first thing that I think we have to remember is that the insights behind the attention economy are not new. We have always known that people are quite good at ignoring advertising. Everywhere. Even on this screen here, people don't all, just because something is viewable, doesn't mean that it gets looked at or looked at for very long. And this has always been the case. And it's interesting that we use like words like opportunity to see or viewability to represent the fact that any ad is almost a bet. There's an element of risk in there. Will anyone notice? Will anyone act upon it? Eye tracking allows you to make better bets because we get more information about which media people actually do look at and which they don't. You know, TV is a fantastic way of getting people to notice ads, but sometimes people have other things going on in the background, and so you get lots of attention from TV, but sometimes not 100% of attention. Whereas devices like this give us tons more opportunities to see, but perhaps not for very long sometimes. The reason why we were so interested in trying to understand the attention patterns of Indian consumers and marry them up to everything that we've found about consumers in the US and the UK and Japan and places like that was to be able to have a common currency across different media. Which will help people like Amin find attention bargains. Media that are out there that are generating lots and lots of attention, perhaps more attention than you might ordinarily think, but perhaps at a lower cost for their customers.
Quickly, before I come to Pulkit, Mike, you mentioned, you know, your common currency and finding those, you know, patterns with Indian consumers. Anything that stuck out when it comes to Indian consumers?
There's two really interesting things from the study we did. 3,000 people were asked to download our software onto their phones, and we temporarily could see what it is that was on the screen and what they were actually looking at for a variety of different media. And one of the first things we found is how similar Indian consumers are to people in Norway and South Africa. Humans in general are very good at ignoring advertising, and consistently so, number one. But the second thing, and I suppose the second thing is that there are some media that are very much better than other media in generating attention, and again, that is consistent. You know, we'll be talking to Pulkit about Snap, but Snap has performed extremely well in Norway and in the US and in France, and now also from the data in India as well. But the third thing I think is really important to note is that while people around the world are very similar, age groups are very different.
Absolutely.
Younger people have this amazing special skill, this superpower to avoid advertising. And India is one of the most exciting countries in the world because of this enormous Gen Z cohort. And we found that, just as in other countries, Gen Z consumers in India are quick to dismiss advertising, which means that it's very important to place your ads in those media where people are going to be spending enough time. You can't assume that just because you've bought an impression, you've made an impression. You have to analyse that impression to work out how it's going to work for different audiences.
Pulkit, given the enormous complexity right now in the media landscape and how metrics are changing and what we are looking at to, you know, measure the effectiveness of advertising, and from Mike was saying that it's, you know, you're taking bets. It almost sounds like advertising is a gamble today. But tell me a little bit about the platform perspective when it comes to, you know, tapping into this attention economy for brands, advertisers. What's the view from the platform perspective?
Sure. Delshad, thank you for having me here. And a very interesting stat that Lumen came up with, that 70% of viewable impressions are not seen by consumers. That's a staggering stat, and given the fact that you're spending billions of dollars in advertising if 70% of viewable impressions are not seen, it is time that we start indexing on very important metrics like attention. And in the context of where human attention is anyway a scarce commodity, and even so, more so with Gen Z, whose attention span is less than that of a goldfish, we believe that attention is a real human response to advertising. And when you lay the context to advertising, what is advertising trying to do? In the most simple terms, it is trying to build awareness, it is trying to build trust so that people buy your product. And come to think of it, attention is central to driving both these outcomes. And what this research states is that attention, a 5% improvement in attention drives 2x more brand outcomes. Now, you overlay this with the context of our consumer. India has perhaps the largest demographic sitting in India is Gen Z, 380 million Gen Z. This demo is going to drive $2 trillion of retail consumption in the next 10 years. So brands and businesses must understand the behavior and how they consume technology, whether they want to see ads or not, to Mike's point. And in this context where human behavior is changing, people are less adept to seeing your ads, and the fact that more and more content consumption is happening on the mobile, this particular research becomes very, very pertinent in terms of allowing marketers to actually plan their advertising spends in a meaningful way. And now, in the context of Snapchat, 90% of our users are actually less than 30 years old. And we see this behavior in a very dominant way on how people consume technology. This is the place where people come to build and foster real connections. They are playing with our AR lenses. And we pride ourselves in calling ourselves a visual messaging app where camera is at the forefront of driving this user engagement. You have ephemeral messaging, people consume content. And in the context of all this, what people are doing on our app, we've seen that attention is a very key currency to driving this engagement and driving more bang for the buck for your advertising money.
When it comes to Maruti, Partho, how are you, again, legacy brand, how are you looking at connecting with this Gen Z audience? Because they are going to be your buyers. They're influencers right now, but they will be your buyers in the future. How are you connecting with them right now? How are you laying the groundwork with them?
I think Delshad, Pulkit made a very fantastic statement that 5% increase in the attention grabbing can lead to 2x enhancement in the brand strategy, enhancement, the brand lift. I think today, the key challenge is to earn the genuine attention of the Gen Z customers. Not easy. So I believe that there are two important things which needs to be done. First of all, how good the narrative is and how creditable is the narrative which you are going to tell to this Gen Z customer. Because as rightly mentioned by, I think, Mike also, that first 2-3 seconds are very crucial for the Gen Z customer to take the attention of the creative which we have made and we are going to show it to them. If we are not able to cut the ice within the first 2-3 seconds, I think it is very difficult. So what we are doing now is this. We feel that Gen Z customer, there are two ways by which we can connect. One is to have a very powerful narrative which connects with them. And second is with them is to tell about the experiences. They are very much insight for the experiences which they can really go forward to it and they can do it. So be our creative, like for the Jimny we did, was the experience sort of a campaign which we created, did very well with the Gen Z customers. And now for the new campaigns of the brands which we are doing, be it for the Grand Vitara, we are talking about what is the credible narrative, what is the thing which we want to offer to them. That is going to make a difference, I feel, in times to come. The Gen Z customers, they are not at all having that attention to really focus on anything for more than 3 to 4 seconds. The study which came clearly highlights this is a reality. In fact, we were seeing it from different other researchers also, that any ad, anything which we are making and which we are trying to grab their attention, if we are not able to make a good creative and the content is not having the credibility, it won't be able to cut ties with them. I think this study is further reinforcing the feedback which we are getting it from the different sectors. Dilshad, if you ask me, my kids are also Gen Z actually. So when I interact with them, I find that they are talking about some new things which are happening. How was that thing? How it really was creating ripples in their mind. And they're always looking for something new and some new experiences, be it in terms of travel. In fact, today I was reading some interesting very article that people are taking now more loans for travel than for home renovation or for doing the medical expenses. That clearly shows that the Gen Z, which is there, is looking for new experiences. You need to give them something new, which is more palatable and credible to them so that they can experience it. So I'm seeing that across, be it in the office, be it in my home space, this generation wants to experience new things and they are ready to do that. They are quite adventurous and experimentative.
Absolutely. Always seeking the new, Amin. But, you know, Partho made some very interesting points, so did Mike and Pulkit, when it comes to creativity, right? Those first 2-3 seconds we're hearing it all the time. I was speaking to a bunch of content creators the other day, and they were just reflecting on why are they so sort of shouty in some of their work, and because it's literally that you need to grab attention in those first 2-3 seconds. Now, your creative play, it's bound to be, there's bound to be impact when it comes to creativity. So tell me a little bit about, on the agency side, how are you thinking about sort of balancing that need for grabbing attention, keeping your creativity also in the forefront? What's happening there?
So I think Partho-san also made a comment that yes, first 2-3 seconds very important, but he also spoke about narrative and about storytelling. And what we are trying to do is, missing that entire storytelling capability, in this entire equation. And I think it's very, very important. Even if you see today digital content consumption, you have takers of 5 seconders, 30 seconders, up to 2 hours. You see podcasts which are like 2 hours, 3 hours. I know that there was one podcast which went up to some 5 hours now recently, some Hindi podcast, and there were takers for it as well. I think it is how you say the story, and if your story is right, platforms will make sure that their algorithms work through shorter formats and all of that, and pull people into through their sampling framework, and bring them onto longer form of content. So I think storytelling and the importance of storytelling is not going to go away. Right? So I think that's the first part of thing. The second part of thing is this entire thing about something new, something engaging, right? And that is also important, and something that Mike was explaining to us in the last couple of days is that between skippable and non-skippable ad, on the skippable, the skip button is so important in the attention economy, because if you have attention over there and your brand is not around it, you've kind of lost the plot. So I think that's a great cue that I'm going to talk to all my brand partners and marketing partners, to make sure that we really, really capitalize, because then skippable ads are quite value for money otherwise. So just kind of putting that. The other thing is how are platforms evolving to create very impressionable engagements and experiences through their content. And I think Snap is such an example where they're trying to do multiple things. But for other platforms also the same principles start to apply. We are working very, very closely with the platform partners and our creative teams to make sure that anywhere from 3 seconds to multiple hours, how do we really, really drive focus on the creative and the brand? Now, I know I should have spoken the word attention, but that attention to attention is becoming too much of attention then.
Attention to attention. But Mike, I want to get you in on this as well. How do you align creative development with attention focus KPIs without stifling originality? That is increasingly important. As Partho also mentioned, narrative, creativity. We talk about Gen Zers having low attention spans, but that doesn't mean you compromise on creativity, right?
Exactly. I think Amin's put it very well. There's sort of two directions you could go in, I think. One is to realise that a lot of social media has much more to learn from out of home and posters than it does from cinema and TV. We often think about we've got a TV ad, how do we cut it down for social media? I think we should think about it in a different way, which is, I've got a wonderful poster, how do I build it up for social media? Because you can have the great posters that we've been making for the last 150 years are emotive. They can tell stories. They can make you rethink things in a very beautiful way. But they do it in an instant image. But I think the other thing that Amin and Partho have both been saying is about the idea of creative earning attention. We sometimes believe that we're in charge of making people to look at things. And in actual fact, research like this and the work that Lumen's been doing around the world reverses things. We have to remember that we are not driving anyone we are trying to seduce people into looking at things. People are in charge of their own attention. We don't get to tell them what to do. They're in charge. And that means that creative is really, really important. Why is this thing worth looking at? Why am I spending time engaging with an ad? And I think it's only the creative that can do that. So the insights of this study and many others are, on one level there, I think they're quite useful sort of superficially. We can put them into planning tools, we can use this insight to go and buy better stuff. But there's also a deep philosophical understanding that people are in charge of their own attention. Our job as marketers is to do something interesting and worth looking at.
Very interesting point there. That entitlement that we've been suffering from needs to go. You need to earn that attention. What are platforms in charge of then, Pulkit? As we are in charge of our own attention. What are platforms in charge of?
I think the fundamental thing that we should understand is every platform is inherently different. Consumers today engage with platforms in different ways. A TV is different from a mobile screen, and within the world of many apps, an OTT streaming platform is different from a social network platform than a video streaming platform. So there are three key elements that really become very integral to this whole attention planning. The platform itself, because marketeers must understand how users engage with platforms. For example, Snapchat opens to the camera. It doesn't open to a feed where you are endlessly doom scrolling. The second part is actually the format itself. The power of creative is not going to go away, whether it is a 30-second creative or a 2-hour storytelling format. I think that will always be central to how users will respond to your brand message. Having said that, I think one of the key elements is, over time, if you see the evolution of advertising, right? TV for many decades was front and center to how people were exposed to advertising, and then came the mobile screen, and then now it is even more fragmented within the mobile space, right? I do believe that this whole over-indexation on reach and impressions needs to probably be revisited. And this is what exactly this study is doing. I think if you have $100, you need to optimize for better efficiency and efficacy. And attention is one of the key metrics that will allow you to do that.
I mean, how far are we from the point where, some of the old metrics, old ways of measuring, will be perhaps too dated, and we'll see, more attention metrics and perhaps even newer metrics emerge? What after attention?
I think currently attention is in itself.
Attention should stay on attention.
Yeah. I mean, this show is all about attention to attention. So we'll continue to focus on that. And also, it's a relatively newer subject that we've started to engage with. Right? Though intuitively all of us have spoken that this is the most important thing, and now studies tell us that 500 bips of improvement in the focus of a consumer really leads to better outcomes. So I think those are the learnings that we are looking forward to. At the media planning side or the agency side, what we've done is that we've already integrated these learnings into our planning platform, right? Not only in India, but globally. This Indian study now will bolster, some of the reads that we've done specifically for such a large study, across 4 categories, 4+ categories. And therefore, what we are going to do is it's only going to step it up into our planning process. As you know, India is, we don't have a single source equivalent measurement or industry recognized measurement system yet in digital. And as an industry, a lot more needs to be done in that direction. And I think this is one of those initiatives which is trying to talk that there are, we can leverage technology. We can leverage insights around consumers to really dial up or make our media planning far more effective.
How would you sum up how Maruti is going to win in this attention economy?
I think, Delshad, one thing is there. By this study, on lighter note, the creative agencies will be furthermore be under pressure, because now we are going to further be telling them that your creative is not working. And if based on this study, we can come out with some metrics which clearly shows that within the first 3 seconds, there is no more this cutting through, then creative agencies will have problem. But fundamentally, I need to tell one thing once again. It doesn't mean that Gen Z is not going to see the longer format of the content which are today also made, as rightly mentioned, be it a 30-second or a 45-second. Important thing is this, how well you are going to tell the story to them. And is it something which is relatable to them and they find it creditable is very important. If that thing happens, I think it is not a matter of which format we are using, but how we are going to present to them. And we need to understand the media habits for different platforms. Unfortunately, today, what it happens, many of the creative agencies, they try to make one size fit all. That's a big problem. We need to understand the different platforms, how the media is consumed there, and how we are going to convey the message is also equally important. So it's not that the consumer who is there today in the metro cities and the tier 2 cities, they have got different way of seeing the things. The difference between the India and the Bharat is now getting very much diffused. I see in times to come within the next 2 to 3 years, you will see maybe the way the media consumptions are happening, it will be more or less the same, be it across the urban cities and maybe in the tier 2, tier 3 cities. But it is again, I would say, how well we are going to make the content and make it relatable to the audience is going to make the difference.
Well, thank you. I think we've captured a lot in this conversation. Not too short, not too long. Thank you very much.